the Daily Planet, Clark Kent makes a disturbing discovery. Lex Luthor was spotted meeting Lois Lane at her apartment, which to Clark Kent is alarming information. The last time he saw Lois, she left this planet with their son, wanting to protect him as he explored the universe with Jor-El. That night, Superman approaches Lois Lane. The two embrace and have a loving reunion, but are quick to shy away from the public eye. They abscond to Lois Lane's apartment, where the two have an intimate reunion, and they begin to catch up. Lois explains that she was woefully unprepared for the galaxy out there, as Jor-El had insisted before they left. They traveled so far out there that she found herself in grave danger, and, because of this, was putting Jor-El and John in danger themselves. To this end, she returned to Earth, but was focused on writing. In a moment, Superman is forced to race off, putting out some fires, arresting some supervillains, before he returns to Lois's apartment. Though, the moment in reality proves her point. They're never gonna have a normal life. She still loves him and they're still together, and they'll figure out how to do this. But for now, she has to write, and he has to save everyone he can. And John's okay, because if he wasn't, she wouldn't be here. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and this is my recap and review of Action Comics number 1004. So here we are catching up on the Action Comics series since Bendis has taken over Superman as part of his new deal with DC. Man of Steel, the miniseries, was a pretty good representation of Superman and a decent start to Bendis' new continuity. He did a great job writing Supergirl and had some pretty interesting moments for the character, even if the villain wasn't too memorable and there was some weird stuff going on with Superman's family. That's all being followed up now with the return of Action Comics the series, and we're now 4 issues into Bendis' run, and post all the big heyday with the Action Comics number 1000 big anniversary issue. Thus far, these first 4 issues of Action Comics have been pretty interesting, to say the least. Bendis is certainly going his own way with everything, but he hasn't really abandoned the good work done by Dan Jurgens thus far. The thing that I really liked about the most recent era of Superman before Bendis took over was that it really gave Superman this new sense of purpose and direction as a character. The big thing was giving him a family felt like it raised the stakes for everything, and added a new dimension to the character and a new sense of purpose, as well as a strong sense of heart. My early concern with Bendis was that by getting rid of the family and literally poochieing them out of the story, we were going to abandon this sense of heart and get into the somewhat lazier version of Bendis' writing that I've seen crop up in some of his writing with the X-Men and in events such as Civil War II. On the other hand, the really good Bendis writing has a lot of heart and soul, is kind of why I'm a fan of comic books in the first place, and can mean a lot to me. Thus far, Superman and Bendis' writing with it seems to be leaning towards the latter, the better direction with Bendis, and this series has not only embraced the heart of the Rebirth era Superman, but also expanded on it in a big way. Dan Jurgens' writing for Action Comics, in comparison, had a lot of great moments, especially in terms of big action set pieces and ideas. He had a lot of really cool concepts for stories that really amazed me in terms of their potential for future adaptations and ideas, and made me a big fan of Superman in a way that I wasn't necessarily before. Bendis thus far hasn't done that. In fact, he's moved quite in the opposite direction. A lot of this series so far is focused on the life of Clark Kent, the people around him at the Daily Planet, the goings-on in the city of Metropolis, including a rash of fires that appear to be some form of strategic arson going on to distract Superman, while this secret mafia commits crimes throughout the city. That stuff is pretty cool, but definitely scaled back from the big grand adventures of the Superman Revenge Squad and the crazy stuff we saw during Action Comics and the Superman series. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. In fact, I'd really like to stress I've been really enjoying this strong focus on character relationships between Superman and the various supporting figures in his life. Most significantly, that involves the staff of the Daily Planet, and it's been really fun seeing Clark Kent dealing with Perry White and some of the new characters, as well as classics such as James Olsen and now Lois Lane. As for her return, well, that's pretty interesting. For one thing, I find it a little bit of a relief, but Bendis has already stated that he's not exactly written John, Lois, or even Jor-El out of the story, and that all this stuff involving them in Rebirth hasn't just been abandoned as of yet. But Bendis is finding new ground and a new direction with his story, developing his own mythology that's likely going to expand into other series as we go forward, considering all of the Superman series ended in anticipation of Bendis' take on this character. As such, he's going to be able to build stuff up from here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes. But Lois's return is really expanded on this issue, and it leaves a lot more questions than it does answers. I don't really put that in a super negative way. We are being kept in the dark to a degree, but it seems intentional. It seems like something's wrong, and I would hope that's written intentionally. If not, then this is a very weak character development because it's hard to believe anything Lois is saying in this moment. She's very evasive about a lot of this stuff and clearly isn't telling the whole truth with regards to what happened out there in space. I don't know, just some of her dialogue seems a little off. I suspect perhaps Jor-El did something to her or something happened out there, and I'm very curious what that's going to mean. There's also hints that John isn't going to return to Earth the same little kid that he was. She says that he basically hit puberty the second they went out in space, and we're going to probably see a different character when he returns. I don't know what this all means, but I'm very curious to see what happens next, and I would recommend Action Comics as it currently stands. All 4 of the current issues are worth reading, and it gets into some pretty cool stuff, which I'm looking forward to seeing more of as we go forward. A big part of why this series is also working for me is the artwork done by Patrick Gleason in the first few issues and Ryan Sook in this one. They really sell the character building work being done in this series so far, written by Bendis, and are doing some great work with really expressive character faces. Brad Anderson's coloring really helps out, delivering different scenes in very different tones and lighting, allowing for a good take in delineating each scene from one another and showing Superman being able to travel in quick distances in such a short period of time. But it's the last image of Action Comics number 1004 that really sticks with me. This little thing of them floating off into the sky. Whatever's going on with Lois and John and all of that stuff, they're still a family and these two still love each other. It's a very affirming moment, a nice reminder that we aren't abandoning all this good stuff from Superman's Rebirth era, and it's just beautifully put together, really leaving me hopeful for what happens next and pretty excited for what's coming. Things have been scaled back in terms of the level of action, but that doesn't mean the story's less interesting. If anything, I'm more interested in all of this stuff. The character interactions are really good here, and it's important to kind of dwell on that for a moment because this is one area where Bendis can kind of wax and wane. He's been accused of the same criticism that's leveled often at Joss Whedon, where a lot of his characters are written in the same sort of sing-songy dialogue way where they are all quipping one-liners at each other and basically every character gradually devolves into the same personality. But that's not really what's happening here. There's a strong sense of each different character having their own voice. Some of them having their own perspective, some being more along the lines of a typical Bendis character, but perhaps most importantly, characters like Superman and Lois Lane feel like they're written the way they should be. Even though Lois is a little off and it's not exactly clear why she's behaving this way, that isn't written in an inauthentic manner. It's still her, there's just something she's not telling us, or there's something going on, or maybe she's telling the truth and space really was that messed up. Who knows, but I'm kind of curious to see what happens next, and hope you guys are too. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and if you like our video, be sure to check out our Patreon page in the video description below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.